Schmaltz. Hi, Kathy.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. Nice to see you.
I've been to Cascades on Easter. It's wonderful.
It is.
Absolutely wonderful.
Yes, you'll get home and you'll have to lay down on the floor.
Yeah, they do a great job there.
Yeah. Well, sorry about your Spartans. Brandon, sorry about your Spartans. And Brandon said...
I purposely didn't pick them because every time I do, they lose. Yeah. But, Auburn's a tough team. I mean, that's a tough team.
Yeah.
And it's really weird to have all 4 number 1s make it because that didn't happen since 2008 or something. So, yeah, it's, I don't know, hardly anybody picks all 4 number 1s.
No, you're right. Hardly ever happens. Right. And I think because both Michigan and Michigan State did lose to number 1 seeds that, well, not the outcome but people wanted, but certainly understandable. They were playing some very tough teams.
That's right, and nobody expected either of them to go that far. So, they have great coaches and a lot to look forward to.
Yep, they made it to the Sweet 16, something 50 of the other teams did not.
That's right, that's right. Yeah. We should be proud.
Yes. So we've got, what I was thinking, I thought Tom Izzo was disturbed by all the tornado warnings going off during the game. Do you think he could hear that?
I know. No. I don't think he was that concerned about that at the time.
If the game had been a lot closer and Michigan State was winning, I think it'd be people maybe dragging their TV down to the basement.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. And hopefully the power will be back on for a lot of people. And we hate to have those storms, but it is the start of spring, and this is what happens. So.
Yeah. Well, you've been busy in Lansing, and I think that's what everybody wants is, we want things funded, but we want lower prices, and I think that's one of the things you're working on. You are, let's talk about first, you'd like to see a tax cut. We had an income tax cut, a rollback, but that was, it unrolled. Reversed, it unrolled.
Right, yeah. Right. So what happened was, and to give you some background, in 2015, Republicans passed a bill that if state revenues grow faster than inflation, that we all get a tax rollback. And that happened in 2023. It went from 4.25 to 4.05. But the Attorney General and the administration said, no, that's only for 1 year, it's temporary. So everybody got a tax increase last year, which is something that nobody needs. So what my bill does is make sure that when this happens again, it'll stay permanent, and when it goes through, the tax breaks will happen starting January this year.
Now, one thing that you need to do is to get some bipartisan support on this.
It passed bipartisan out of the House.
So you got the Democrats
yes.
to buy into this?
Yes. So now we just have to convince the Senate to do the same.
All right. So this has happened. We've tried like 2 or 3 times before. What do you think is different now that you have the higher level of confidence?
Well, I don't know who can vote against a tax cut for every person in Michigan and for every small business. I mean, this is the time when people really need a break. And I think what everybody forgets about is this is not our money we're dealing with. This is your money. I mean, this is taxpayers' money. So we have to keep that in mind. And when we get more money in the state than we need, and we have a surplus of, $800 million, this tax cut doesn't even go that far. So we have the money to cover this.
Yeah, so a lot, I think, the revenue increase for the state was the result of COVID. Obviously, that money's
long spent.
It's gone.
Yeah, that's gone. But with tax revenues, like I said, reaching $800 million or more, and this tax cut's not going to be that much, we have the money to do it.
In the past week, you've been featured on some statewide websites and front pages of newspapers as you were front and center testifying on your plan to provide some relief for Michigan families in addition to the income tax cut. What other things are you able to focus on in terms of affordability?
So child care is a big problem, we know that. So I have a 3-bill package with Representative Schuette and Representative DeBoer, and what this does is we'll take sales taxes off of toddler and infant items like diapers and those things. Use taxes will also be taken off, and it'll create child care savings account where parents can deduct from their taxable income any child care costs. And also 50% of the state tax would be 50% of the federal tax credit. We would create a state tax credit. So there's child care savings in that package. And again, it passed the House. So
And I think the last couple of weeks we saw somebody mention their hope to get the state to pay every family of a newborn $7,500.
I think that's the Senate bill, and that hasn't come to us yet. So, you know, anything we can do to help parents with this is great. And did you know the first year of a baby, we use up to 3,000 diapers? That's exhausting. We wonder why we didn't sleep at all. But that's a lot of diapers. So when you take the sales tax and use tax off of those things, that saves a lot of money.
So with this surplus and the ability to hopefully roll the income tax back, are we going to have enough money to fix the damn roads?
Yes, we are. We have. We just put out a $3 billion roads plan, and this is to fix the local roads. Finally, we have a plan. I think I get most calls on fixing the local roads, which is so important. And we can do it without raising taxes. I know the governor has a plan. It's about $3 billion too, but she thinks she has to raise taxes to do it. The corporate income tax and also taxes on marijuana and different deliveries and heavy trucks, things like that. We don't think that's necessary. We think we can do it without raising taxes. You have corporate income taxes that come in that we can use that money. Corporate handouts won't be happening anymore. Earmarked special projects, we won't be, hip hop academies won't be in our budget, stuff like that. We have a lot of places that we can cut, and all the state gas tax will go to fixing the roads. Now, the part of that, the 25% that went to schools, will be picked up from other revenue.
So we've seen, I guess, a collapse of the marijuana industry in Michigan in terms of the prices have hit bottom. And we've had a number of companies, producers, and retailers that have just gone out of business. Are we seeing a reduction in revenue in terms of tax revenue from marijuana?
Well, I think it depends on where you are. Some people still see growth, other people don't. So, I mean, that's, up and down industry there. So we'll see what happens. But I brought this because there's too many numbers to deal with sometimes. And for the breakdown of the roads, Jackson County would get $45.7 million. Washtenaw County, 76.5. Chelsea, the city, 1.8 million. Jackson, 12.4 million for the city. And this is well over 100% increase to fix local roads. So those are some of the numbers. House Fiscal just came out with these numbers, and that's why I'm seeing them just now.
So with the reduction in gas usage that's anticipated with electric vehicles, we'll see less gas being purchased, and that's a big part of how our roads are funded. Is that too far down the road to worry about that kind of an
Well,
impact?
it's a concern, and of course this roads plan is for annually, so we can keep up fixing our local roads. But there is enough money there in different areas that we can cut with not having as many pet projects as we've had in the past to fund these things.
We've had a number of superintendents on the show in the last few weeks, and they're all concerned about what level of state funding their school district will be getting. And I know you've met, they've all told me, we've met with Kathy Schmaltz.
Oh yeah, I talk to them all. I talk to them all the time. They call me frequently. So there's a lot of misinformation out there, and this is what I don't like. I think it does a disservice to people to put out this scare tactics of we cut this, we cut that, we cut that. We have not done a budget yet. We have not passed a budget. Nothing's been cut. So that needs to be made clear. What we did pass was a stopgap measure. So if negotiations take long doing this budget, we have essential services covered. That's all we passed. We are just starting negotiations on the budget. So anybody who goes out saying, we cut this from schools, we cut that, it is completely wrong. It is not true. So that's what happened. We do control the House as Republicans, the Democrats control the Senate. So we know we have to compromise and have negotiations, and we just want to make sure essentials are covered. Now with the schools, if you remember, and I don't like to get partisan, but Democrats passed a budget last time that took $300 million away from public safety and mental health in our schools, and also gave no per pupil increase. And this just killed our schools. I mean, this was terrible. So we have proposed a per pupil increase higher than what the governor proposed, first of all. So they'll get that. And then also we're going to make sure that safety and mental health is fully funded and special education.
Well, the governor heard an earful after that happened last time. Did that have an impact? Do you think that those kinds of things are going to be either restored or funded in some way?
Well, we already proposed the per pupil increase that's higher than the governor's. So that's into effect. Matter of fact, I have a breakdown. That'll mean $3 million more for Jackson Public Schools, 1.3 for Chelsea. East Jackson will get like $386 million. Grass Lake, almost $1 million. Michigan Center, almost $1 million. Northwest, $2 million. So Western, $1.5 million. So this is just with a per pupil increase and the other things that we're talking about. So it's so important to me to make sure that our schools are funded and our teachers have the tools they need to teach our kids.
What do you hear from Democrats as they respond to what the Republicans are proposing?
Well, they keep going around saying we cut the school budget, which we haven't even, like I said, we're just starting negotiations on the budget. There will be compromise. We'll go back and forth with the Senate and with the House Democrats, and we'll talk about the budget. We just started with the budget. This was just to make sure essential services are covered if negotiations go past the time. We want to make sure police, fire, essential for schools, all that is covered. So that's all that's happened. Nothing's been cut.
Now, in terms of last year, that's water under the bridge. You can't restore anything that was cut and wasn't funded last year.
Right. So what we did is we already put the per pupil increase in to make sure, because like I said, that just hurt our schools so bad, and they lost a lot of money. Not getting a per pupil increase is, I don't know when that's ever happened, but that was terrible that happened. And then to cut the public safety and mental health more than $300 million, they did restore a little bit of that, but I mean, that's, our kids are so important, and we have to make sure our schools are funded. And so I will always fight for that, and that's what we're doing in our budget.
Yeah, and I think it was a surprise because people looked at the health of the state in terms of revenue and expenses, and it appeared the money was there.
You gotta, this is one thing, if you're in the political arena, you don't get common sense. There's not a lot of common sense. So when you see priorities that should be priorities and they're not priorities, there's a problem there. And so I will always speak up and make sure that. I just testified on the school safety package. Matter of fact, it's like a 9-bill package, bipartisan. We introduced this 2 years ago. And finally, it has come before the committee. And what my bill would do is make sure that we review safety plans at least every 3 years and form a crisis team, which will include the principal, vice principal if you have them, and different people in the school district that the school feels should be on this team. Every school district will get a ISD coordinator to help with this. There'll be more active shooter drills, fire drills, including one with law enforcement, so everybody knows what's going on. So there's a lot of good things in the school safety bill, and we hope to get all these bills passed.
Have you been keeping an eye on the developments in Washington as it relates to DOGE and funding that might affect free school lunch or
So the lunches they're paid for by the Department of Agriculture.
Okay.
First of all, so see, this is what I mean. There's so much misinformation out there, and I don't like people scaring people about certain things, and that's one thing. The Department of Agriculture pays for the school lunches, so the Department of Education doesn't deal with that. So it's really important to find out. Call me, call my staff, call somebody at the state to get information. Call a Republican, call a Democrat. Try and figure out what is true. As a journalist, I don't like the fact that people are getting wrong information, and you know that too. It's very important to get the correct information. And I'll always tell the truth. You might not believe or agree with what I do, but I will always tell you the reasons why I do it, because I don't know how to be any other way, really.
And it's the same thing for the MDHHS potential cuts that were identified on the federal government website as it pertains to health and human services funding for the state?
Well, it's really important, and I will always work to make sure that especially our vulnerable citizens are taken care of. The federal cuts are still going on. They have to do readjustments. We don't know what the final outcome is going to be with that, but obviously if there's something that needs to be taken care of at the state level, I will always fight to make sure that happens.
Nice. All right, what's your schedule this week?
Oh, who knows? You think I look day by day, but it's hopefully the nice weather will come back, and I'm just glad it's baseball season. And again, I don't know why we started on the West Coast, because that's never a good thing, but we'll get through this.
So what are the Tigers going to do this year?
Well, what did I say? I think they're going to do well. They're still fighters, you can tell just by the games they played with LA. I think we're going to be good. But let's get out of the West Coast and back home and figure out what we're doing.
Yeah, we need to get, it's got to warm up for Comerica Park to be comfortable. Apparently, there's a lot of new improvements and some new food items, and so I'll be anxious to check it out. When
Well, I remember the days when you could sit there with double headers, just sit there through both games. You never had to leave. It was so much fun. But yeah, I love going down there, and I'll be down there. And we're doing the Jackson Grand Slam for kids this year too, again. So that'll be July 27th. We're always looking for sponsors. That's where we take 210 at-risk kids and their mentors to Comerica Park. I work with Tony at Big Brothers and Thomas from Save Our Youth. And I think I've done this for more than 15 years.
Wow.
But the kids just love it. And so we're planning on it for July. Anybody who would like to sponsor, we could always use your help.
You know what? This shows how old I am. You know how one of the things I miss about going to baseball is the smell of cigars.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it used to be a big part of the experience, and
That's right. Do you
Yeah.
remember you could smoke everywhere, and even in planes and all that? Yeah.
I was in Washington, D.C. last week, and we got to go on the House floor, and we were told that there are members of the House of Representatives that smoke on the House floor.
What's going on with that?
Can you believe that?
That's just not right.
Yeah.
Yeah, they must sneak it. I don't know.
I mean, it's like, I don't know. I guess who's going to tell them not to?
I would. Don't do that.
All right. Well, thanks for coming in.
It's always good to see you.
Good to see you too. 46th District State Representative Kathy Schmaltz.